Hey everybody, welcome to PDQ Live. This is our annual discussion on why I'm not a complete sysadmin.
Strong start, Jordan. Strong start.
All right, so we went over 8 skills that we think are most important in the IT, not for like specialization, but when you're getting started in IT. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I was outvoted, and it's not all just technical skills that we have in here.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
All right, so since we're starting off with communication, why don't you take the lead here?
Well, let's be clear. These are skills not only for when you're starting off. These are skills for how you can further yourself, your skill set, or if you want to advance on in your career, right? Not just for beginners. These are skills that we think all IT professionals, especially Jordan, should have.
I'm aware that this entire episode is a personal attack, but let's continue.
This is your, this is actually your yearly review. Okay, so we're going to start with soft skills because I know most IT professionals don't care for that, but we're going to start there, okay? You ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, number 1, communication skills. It's tough. It's hard.
See, this was one I actually feel like I'm strong at because I communicate what I want to say very clearly. People just don't
Very
think
clearly,
I'm mean.
but do you do it in a constructive way?
No.
Okay.
I don't see constructive on your list.
Well, it says effective.
Uh-huh.
Effective.
Okay.
That means constructive. Right. So effective verbal and written communication. It's essential. You need to be able to interface in a professional manner, both with your team and with other departments, up and down. Very important.
Okay.
I can tell that hurt. That was painful.
To Jordan's point about wanting to just say the answers, it's in our best interest to have what we say be understood by the receiving party, right? Because if we have some kind of strong opinion or just observation, we want the receiving party to hopefully go along with our ideas that we have, or at least present it in a fair way. And being able to communicate effectively is imperative for that. And it's, we like automation and efficiency. It's way more efficient to communicate effectively. So you have the conversation one time and it's not like this jumbled mess. The
comments, exactly, Andrew, and the comments are perfect.
Dumb it down for management. Now I'm on board.
Perfect, though, actually, and I'm going to phrase that in a nice manager way because everyone just said it perfectly. No, you can't use IT language when you're communicating with managers or users. You just can't. You need to speak to them on their level, both for management and users. And yes, you do have to be professional. So yes, in a nice way, do dumb it down. Do manage it up. That's a great way to put it.
Don't in a nice way this for me.
Okay.
If you want me to adopt it.
Just be less of a jerk. There you go. How's that?
All right.
Okay.
I think something else that's important, especially with communication, is a lot of times in IT, we're reactively communicating with people. And instead, we should build those habits about being proactive with our communication, especially when we've got like projects coming up and needs in IT and where we think things are headed. When you're proactively communicating with other departments in your organization, it just builds that foundation of trust.
Yes.
So at my previous job, where I actually had to implement things, the way I would get it is I would explain it in the amount of fines we would get as a regulated industry.
Yeah.
But I wasn't nice about it. It was, it will cost you this much. I will implement whatever you want. To me, that's effective.
I think it can be effective in certain ways, but do you want to lose the room in the way you explain something? Or do you want to engage them and get them to buy into the message that you're sending them? That's the way I like to explain it to people. So for me, the way to get them to buy in is speak to them on their level, explain it to a way that they can understand. That's key. That's key.
And there we got Dave with the analogies. I got this. It's like, so let's pretend that you're a child. Well,
in a less harsh way, you do have to do that.
Okay.
Explain it to them a way that they understand. And using analogies is a great way to do that. The next thing is conflict resolution is huge in IT. Because let's face it, we have to say no a lot. We do. So how do we learn how to say no nicely in a way that they can handle? So conflict resolution for me as an IT manager, huge. There is a good way to do it and an appropriate business way to do it. I think this is a skill everyone should have. I firmly believe this one.
Something that comes to mind with me with some of these communication type answers is that some of it may be relationship management, right? If you're only having conversations with people for the first time, it's going to be a bit more difficult to understand how they communicate best. So by having a relationship, by establishing yourself as someone who can communicate with other departments or within your department to managers is going to be instrumental in when the time comes to actually communicate your ideas, you already have some form of relationship to go off of.
Right. And yes, the IT department is always the no department. So I like to say, find a way to say yes. I want to be able to tell you yes, and here's how I can do it. Find a way to say yes.
Or give them an alternative.
Exactly. That's another way.
You're ultimately trying to come to the same outcome. You want to you want to be able to say yes. If you can't, find an acceptable compromise or alternative.
And that's all part of that conflict resolution. You have to de-escalate the conversation in order to get to the root of the problem. That's the hard part. But that de-escalation is key.
You need to be able to say, this is why I'm saying no, but this is how I can say yes.
Exactly. And I agree with the comments. Creating boundaries is essential. You have to be able to have your home time. Essential. That's another conflict resolution.
My approach, and I believe Kelly can back me up that this is how I approach it, is I will very much go in with exactly what I want because I believe it's technically sound.
Yeah.
If I'm proven wrong, I have no problem taking accountability.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with being direct if at the end, if I am wrong, I'm saying, my bad.
I don't think it's about right and wrong here. I think that from the IT standpoint, from a technical standpoint, you're always going to be right. This is about explaining that to a non-technical person and getting their buy-in. This is a whole different thing. You're always going to be right. Now, how do you explain that to a non-technical person? You're welcome.
Well, and Cindy has a great point here in chat. If you proactively use proactive communication, using the who, what, when, where, why, and how it affects them in a similar format or template, it helps a lot, especially if you don't get too technical. Yes. Again, it's like you said, you got to learn how to read the room.
Yes. Interface. Get those relationships. I know that is painful to hear, but you got to have it.
Let's go to point 2.
Okay, let's go to point 2.
We can agree with each other.
I don't want to forget, though. I think all of these tools are going to help you have that job stability. So you've heard job hopping, people that stay at jobs 2, 3, 4, 5 months. Looks terrible on your resume. So we want to try to aim for that job stability. It's going to help you in the long run. It's going to look great on your resume. We want to go for that, too. A little bit of job stability. Okay. All right. Point 2, adaptability and continuous learning. So having the ability to be a lifelong learner and be adaptable to learn these new technologies and don't be so rigid.
So I'm back on board because I view this as a technical skill.
It is.
The ability to adapt to changing technology, in my opinion, is a technical skill. So if we want to call that a soft skill, I wholeheartedly adopt my first ever soft skill, and I love it.
I put this under soft skills because how many times have you been approached by a sales manager that says, we don't like Salesforce anymore. I have a friend who uses this program. We want to go to this one. And what's your reaction?
I mean, for Salesforce, I agree.
Well, I'm just saying any program. Any program. You have to adapt. Program.
Well, I mean, it depends. Just because I don't like it's not really a sound thing. If they come to me with it doesn't meet these needs, then I'm happy to do research to find something else. But I'm not going to change just because they don't like it.
But
if
sometimes
that was the case,
you have
we would not have a sauna.
But the point is, sometimes you have to. And I think the ability to be willing to learn and wanting to continually better yourself and your lifelong learning plan is going to make you a better IT person. So and I know how you feel about this, but doing the certifications if you so desire and doing any kind of continuous learning, if your company pays for certifications, for sure get those. Any kind of continuous education, recruiters love this, HR people love it. I know how you feel, but I did research out some certifications that we want to show just because they're relatively cheap. And again, if your company pays for them, why not? Why not just get them? Especially if your company pays for them.
I'll show you those certifications in just a second, but we do have a question that I want to throw up here first. James D would like to know, how do you communicate with someone who self-proclaimed knows more than you and just wants you to fix it? So in my experience, these are usually I call these well, I'm not going to say what I call them because it's not appropriate. These are the people who have a little bit of IT experience, the armchair quarterbacks. So I usually just listen to them.
I let them do their little spiel and say how smart they are. I take down their points, and it's not worth my time to argue with them, honestly. That's my approach on it. I just fix it. I don't feel the need to tell them they're wrong or right. I don't care enough.
Isn't that counterproductive to communication, just to let them talk at you, then ignore everything they said?
Well, for me, it's not worth the argument. I just let them feel smart and go about my business. So, but I think it's different for everybody.
I'm not saying I disagree with you. You're on my page here. Just fix it and be happy. I'm thrilled with that. But
well, am I ever gonna prove this person wrong? Am I ever gonna make them see the light? What's the end game for me on this?
Even further, when you do fix it, they're not going to accept that you didn't do the recommendations. They're going to believe that it was their idea. So there's no change in it.
Yeah.
So in that case, if you're talking at a brick wall, then just fix it and let them believe what they want.
That's a certain personality type that I don't see an end game. What's the point?
Yeah.
I wouldn't bother.
We've got your
and that's a hard
certifications.
personality type.
Yes.
That's a hard personality type.
Yeah.
If the higher promoted that person is, that gets harder and harder to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
One more point on that as well. To me, it sounds like more of a cultural issue. Ideally, in a healthy work environment, everyone is being honest, open, and assumes good intent. When you have someone who is not open to communication or new ideas, it really shuts down any collaboration. And it sounds kind of like that's what you're dealing with. So that sounds like a challenging situation. So sorry for you.
And it really just depends. Are they above you? Are they lateral? I mean, I'm kind of petty, so sometimes I'll wait and bide my time and then prove them wrong, but I probably wouldn't waste my time.
So I actually have an example of this very thing where I had a very high producing loan officer that wanted our attachment size to be larger than Google could accept. And I pushed back on him for a while until he said, just make it happen. So I did. And then every time I got a complaint, it's like, hey, this didn't go through, I'd send him our email chain where I told him Google can't take that. And so every time it became a small win for me.
Yeah. But see, that's passive, but you're also bringing the receipts. So I like that too.
Did you want your certifications?
Yes, we'll just throw it up there.
We'll throw these up and go through them really quick.
All right. So you said on the certifications that I don't like these, and I don't like some.
Yeah.
So like CCNA, if you pass the CCNA, I am confident you understand the networking, how to set up a router, everything. There are so many certs that are testing if you can pass the test, not if you know the knowledge.
For sure.
I don't generally respect them right out the gate.
But remember, we're not trying to prove to other tech people. We're proving to recruiters and HR people. They're not tech people. Remember.
Yeah, they do take a look at this. So we've got the first three. There's that Cisco is number 2, AWS. Next batch, Microsoft Certified Azure Fundamentals. That's a long one.
So I would say for the AWS one, I have heard from people that are high up involved in a lot of that stuff that say that is a fantastic cert, and the test is actual testing if they know the knowledge. So
Testing
AWS is
knowledge.
one that I'd be interested in.
Yeah, and then CISSP, and final 2 on here. That's that Google Certified Professional Cloud Architect and Project Management Professional, PMP.
Yeah.
So even on these, I'd say if you get every one of these certs, what's the point? All you're going to do is you're going to prove to the recruiter that you can pass a test.
Yeah.
But if there's one of these that is relevant to the career you're trying to follow, have at it. Your value may vary.
And it's just one tool for your toolbox. You don't have to do all of them or any. It's just one idea. Okay, the last thing, and Jordan's going to really hate this one, but I think it is a very good skill for everybody to have. Can you teach IT to a room full of users confidently?
Confidently, no.
Okay, it's a struggle.
I don't do anything with confidence.
It's a struggle, but it is a very good skill for IT people to have. I think it's important, and I think if this is something you struggle with, you should work on it. You should find a buddy, find a mentor, and try to cultivate this skill.
So how is me holding a lunch and learn going to help me in my IT career?
Do you want to move up? Are you interested in management?
No.
Are you okay? Then you don't care. It really just depends on what are your goals, right? These are general recommendations. If you're happy being a system administrator and you have no aspirations to move up, okay, maybe this isn't important to you. These are just general recommendations.
So being able to do something like that is if you're looking to progress your career in a certain path that has.
Yeah.
Okay.
Certainly. I don't think it could hurt you.
Yeah.
But
my thought on this is being able to talk tech with non-tech people is a huge skill that every IT team should have at least one person comfortable navigating those waters. And oftentimes there's a lot of opportunity for growth if you go that way. Yeah. But on the general point of learning, I think a big thing for me thinking about my career in IT is we will always be learning new things.
Yeah.
How do you learn best? Is it for studying for a certification? Is it blogging? Is it getting hands-on? Is it books? Is it videos? Finding out how you work best. Maybe you find a note-taking system that kind of works for you, because you're going to be learning forever in every job for the rest of your career.
Yeah, and a good way to verify what you know is to teach it to someone else, especially someone who isn't very tech literate. It's a great way to demonstrate.
Doesn't Jordan get paid to teach people?
Yes.
Like pretty much the entire internet how to do IT things?
But there is no disagreement that when I start answering, I'll go purely into the technical without concern to any other aspect. Where we get a lot of comments about the appreciation, how where I'll go pure tech, and then you'll come in and you'll explain it in the way that you're talking about here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
In the sense of, can I teach tech to someone who is technical? I think absolutely.
For sure you can.
Can I teach it to someone who's not technical? I don't believe that I can.
Yeah. Well, okay, that goes in my next point, which I think is actually a great segue, is teamwork and collaboration. Because I firmly believe this, and this is my IT manager chops kicking in. Nobody knows everything. So lean on your team, collaborate with your team. You are so great at some things. There's going to be some things that I'm okay at. Work together, collaborate.
That was, I'm sorry, I just said very negative. I'm great at some things. There's some things I'm okay at.
Okay,
that feels unnecessarily harsh.
I'm just saying, work with your team and pinpoint what everyone is great at and work together, because we're all working as a team toward the company good. It's really impractical to think that you can be good at everything. It's impossible. Nobody can.
You're hired for a specific set of skills.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't do us any good to create a team of people that did the exact same thing at the exact same skill level.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of evaluate each member of your team and play to their strengths. That's why they were hired, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think a good manager can evaluate the team and see what they're good at and see where they're flawed and how they can help them. I shouldn't say flawed, where they're weak. And a big part of that is having a responsibility sheet. Here are our core responsibilities, and here's our 1, 2, and 3. Jordan is our PowerShell expert.
I like it. Take that, Andrew.
Or Andrew's number 1. Or Jordan's number 1, Andrew's number 2,
That's right.
Brock's number 3, and then make sure you have 2 levels deep in every area. So you're cross-training. You have cross-trained responsibility.
Silos are terrible.
Yeah,
Which
terrible.
It's always been. So I will say, and I've seen my peer reviews, collaboration is where I'm weakest. And trust me, the company agrees. But that one is the one where it's not that I'm not willing to collaborate. It's just, if you tell me to go, hey, build out this, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then I don't go past there, which I understand now after coaching is not fair to teammates.
Yeah. But you know what? I think the team is not only your company team, it's our PDQ team. I've seen some amazing things in Discord where we're helping each other. A team is anyone that you make your team. It's amazing to collaborate with others. I think this is a huge part of advancing yourself in IT. Learn from any source. Any source.
Yep.
Is huge.
And I think that this highlights the importance of different perspectives, right? We all have different perspectives and backgrounds in IT, and having a diverse perspective set on your team is very important.
Yes.
And say your team doesn't have a lot of SQL experts and you're now the SQL point person, well, you should probably find some SQL communities where you can get that extra level of assurance and mentorship. And there's plenty of communities out there that are willing to help you, including the PDQ Discord. Come through.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just lastly, I'm just going to quickly touch on this is, and this will be IT managers primarily, is being able to forecast and understanding budgeting and disaster planning is critical. So one member of your team should be able to do that.
I don't think that's just managers, because any part of your budget you don't spend, the company will take from you next year.
It's
so
true.
Understanding how you can get the most out of what you have is critical.
Yeah.
And that's just as a self-preservation. You need to keep the budget you have, if you can't grow it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. You ready? Oh, wait. And then aligning IT as a strategic partner. This is huge. IT is is usually seen as a service department, or red-headed stepchild is another way I like to call it. Align yourself as a business partner. Get a seat at the table. Very important.
Right.
Okay, your favorite. Ready, Jordan?
Technical.
Technical. Go.
So the first one is troubleshooting.
Yes.
And this is whether you're starting out as something that goes through and makes you valuable no matter where you're going. And I came up had an example from a buddy of mine just yesterday where he was having an issue with his computer wasn't connecting to the network. So he sent it to the help desk and they imaged his machine. And then they didn't save any of the data because they didn't know if one of those settings is what was causing the network problem, which to me is a absolute failure of just the basics of your job.
Yes.
They went straight to the nuclear option of wipe it all out. They didn't keep anything, so they can't track future issues. They angered the customer.
Oh, yeah.
And in his case, he is quite high up in the IT side. And next time an opening comes up, is he going to go look at the team that imaged his machine instead of troubleshooting to say, yeah, you're a good fit? Or
No.
is he going to go external?
External.
So diagnosing and troubleshooting actual problems is the basis of anything. It's critical.
Yeah, because you take it with you as you ascend, for sure. Okay. So we just wrote down find the problem, diagnostics, isolate the problem, troubleshoot, repair, replace, test and verify, ensure the fix is a good one, and then document it. Please, for the love of God, document it.
Yeah.
Put it in your ticketing system.
So I do remember Andrew had objections to my distaste for going imaging quickly and defend yourself.
Yeah, it's a bit of a, to me, the situation you described kind of sounds like a cultural issue. Like if a help desk person is making these choices, there's no established procedure, there's no checks and balances, probably not proper training, or maybe they're totally swamped in tickets and are just very much so struggling. It sounds like one of those type of situations to me. But I'll also say that when someone knows how to troubleshoot, like maybe an advanced sysadmin, and they see someone who doesn't and has put no effort into it, it's very obvious, like, at least for me, whenever I see it, it's like, okay, this person has no clue how to understand things. They have no clue how to rule something out, how to establish a baseline. It's like, what's even going on here, right? We are often in IT to solve problems, and a lot of that's going to be troubleshooting, like technical issues, less technical issues. It's all kind of troubleshooting.
So I'm okay with they can document, and here's all the things that I tried, and it all is coherent towards trying to find a network issue. If they can document all that, they don't find anything, and they decide image is the solution, that's fine. But to not retain the data because you're afraid of some setting within there being the problem,
Oh, that's a huge problem.
that is, I would have I reacted far more aggressively than he did. Because that is...
Yeah, that's a huge red flag. Yeah. So then next we should have a basic understanding of network.
Everything is going to use the network.
Yeah.
Even if you are in something where you have a gap network, everything within that gap is still going to be networked together.
Yeah.
So understanding the basics of that is critical to troubleshoot some of your more basic problems. And if you go to if you are at a department large enough to have a dedicated network person, if you go to them with, hey, I think there's a network issue, here's the things that I've tested, or I've noticed that it's starting to drop on the fourth hop between these two devices, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Going with that where he can go and not waste that time himself, he's going to love you for it.
Yeah, and it's going to serve you well as you advance in your career.
Yeah, so
agreed.
networking touches on everything. There's not anything out there that's not going to be networked in some way. So understanding that, I think, is critical.
Yeah. Okay, next up, Jordan, we have system administration. Huge.
Yeah, that's a very big umbrella.
Very big umbrella.
I'm changing pages.
Do it. Change pages. So we put a lot of things in this one purposely.
So, and this is the one, and this one I think ties most into the soft skill of learning, basically the adapt and always be ready. And it's because I think if any of us have been in IT for, we'll say, 10 years, the technology you started in and this is your thing is probably obsolete and outdated.
Yeah.
I was an Exchange administrator. There's still some people that have on-prem Exchange, but it is clearly a tech on its way out.
Yeah.
Things like online Exchange
Or hybrid, probably.
hybrid are taking over. So a lot of the skills that I have, what I learned from there, I can use to help out with the future things. But if I'm not adapting towards the way IT is going, it doesn't matter what I know now.
Yeah. Because system administration now, you're in the cloud, right?
Yeah.
You're virtual. But yeah, just like you said, you learn stuff, you can carry it on. But we're talking about upgrading fleets, managing the fleets, deploying, managing software, automation, scripting, your personal favorite. And I think for me, the future, everything AI.
So, and
Yeah.
I debate this one because there's the famous quote, what was it, Pierre, that said, AI is not going to replace you. Someone that knows how to use AI will.
Yeah. That's what I mean, knowing how to use AI.
Yeah, it is a fantastic helper tool. It is a long way away from replacing jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
For me, this point is like, so about system administration, it's about understanding how to administer any system. Understanding, like, are we documenting our changes? Are we looking towards automation? Having an ability and experience with actually administering a system of some sort and thinking of systems and how it takes place in the context of a business is super important. And those kind of core skills and fundamentals can be, you take on a new system, a new technology, you can apply a lot of those same core fundamental ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Does documentation fall under soft skill or hard skill? Because it should be mandatory for... And documentation is not just for you. You can go back but if you have someone in the new start and say, hey, here's our documentation. If they come back with a whole bunch of basic questions where they haven't read the documentation, that gives you a solid understanding. But documentation is great for unifying any sort of troubleshooting in your department. So is that a soft or hard skill?
That's a good question. I think it could be both. I used to always require of my new techs to document everything in the ticket, and they had to CC me so I could follow each ticket. I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it was such an effective training technique, so I could see if they were going to go awry. So I'm going to say both, Jordan. We're going to go both.
All right. Well, with how bad I am at documentation, I'm just going to assume it's a soft skill.
Okay. We'll put a check mark there. Okay, and then let's end on system security and data protection, because security is huge these days.
So, security is not just an IT thing anymore, because no matter how good you are at setting up security, you're as weak as the most likely to click on a bad link employee in your company.
Yeah. So kind of soft skills. You got to talk to people.
No. So what I say for security is you need to understand the best tools to mitigate when said person clicks on the link.
Yeah. Well, you got to convince them to do their training, or you got to personalize it for them, or make them understand why it's important. Because let's face it, everyone's hitting next, and ignoring the training.
So let's use example of recent training here. There is some good technology advice in there, but the main takeaway I've seen in the chat is it has trained people to not use email.
That's true.
Which is fine for me, because really email is the most likely avenue where someone's going to click on something bad. And you have the ones where if it opens up in the preview pane, it still executes the code. So I mean, doing it with email, sign me up. It's not easy said as done, but I think it's on its way out.
You don't want to read it anyway.
But in that case, for a sysadmin, I'm more concerned about the mitigation side. You have to be able to understand at least how to track the basics for when there is a security breach.
Yeah. Well, and we put down firewalls, antivirus, backups, disaster recovery. We're not saying you need to know everything about a firewall or everything about antivirus, but you probably know everything about backups if you're a sysadmin. But
any sysadmin backup is an important part of it.
Yeah.
But security is a high-paying standalone career for a reason.
Yeah.
And a lot of sysadmin, we're going with general sysadmin as the theme on this one mostly, is you are a generalist. So you have to have a strong grasp in, I think, the 4 components we talked about to be successful. And I see Andrew covering his face. He's not happy with me.
What's he doing?
I don't know. He's reacting. He's reacting wildly to my comments.
No. I'm praising you by slapping myself. I think that definitely security is everyone's responsibility. And as you grow to administer more systems that have a larger business impact that hopefully pay you more money, feeling comfortable that you understand security and have that kind of security oriented mindset, and being able to convince business leaders that you know what you're talking about is massively important. And ultimately, security is everyone's responsibility. There is a lot of security work that needs to be done, and it can't only fall on the security team.
Yeah.
We do have a question, relevant question at this point.
Relevant question.
Well, it's not. Okay, they're all relevant, but this one especially to the topic. Does anyone have best practices on how to keep employees engaged in good security practices? David B.
So
I like Chris's response. Whips and chains.
Whips and chains. So I would be curious to hear Rachel's take on this, because she works for an IT company where several of us are pretty tech savvy. And the struggle she's gone through and the complaints she gets about security training is significant.
I do. She's actually talked to me about it too. So I've got one. You ready?
All right.
It's a good one. You're going to love it. Make it fun.
I was just going to say gamify it.
Gamify it. It's so easy. Go buy a couple bags of candy from Costco, put it on your desk, pretend it's a fun little game, and give them some candy. It sounds so stupid, but I'm here to tell you it works.
I use money. Actually, because you could gamify it, and we do have something here internally called Motivosity. You can give somebody money, essentially, and there are ways that you can use that, and just different ways to gamify the process. Because like Jordan said, at first, everyone's like, oh, good grief, another training. But if there is some incentive, any type of incentive, it takes 5 minutes out of your day, and you can crush it.
So we've seen a lot of comments there in Know Before.
Yep.
And I will say, I got
Know Before is great.
I love Know Before.
I got a Know Before where it was from HR talking to me about my performance, where I'm already prone to anxiety and panic attacks. It was not helpful.
Yeah. I actually love Know Before as a tool. It's a good one. It's thorough and people pay attention. But I mean, it just is as simple as you're watching your Know Before and you say, oh, Jordan just finished it. Dropping by Jordan's desk and saying, desk and saying, good job, Jordan. Throw candy at his face. Thanks, Jordan.
Well, see, now you're speaking my language.
It's just that simple. It sounds stupid, but I'm telling you.
But I could just go to 7-Eleven and get a candy there.
Well, they don't work at PDQ.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go buy a Butterfinger while clicking on questionable links.
It's less about the reward and it's more about putting a positive spin on it. They already don't want to do it.
So this is the end user is there is no good answer. Being diligent and making sure that they have the information in front of them is helpful, and you might catch some of them.
Yeah.
But the end user is always going to be the weakest point, and there's no way around it.
So if you can find a way to make it fun for that end user, and I know that you're going to hate this, but build a relationship with them. And if you don't have that personality, does someone on your team have that personality? Can someone be that fun person? That's the answer.
So I have an idea here. First of all, if you're implementing anything new that requires your user to do things, going to be challenging, going to be kickback. The best thing you can do is establish it now so that new employees, when they start, there's an expectation, there's a culture of security. It's going to be a lot easier. But yeah, whenever you're dealing with humans and implementing new things, humans don't really like change, especially when they're busy and so on and so forth. But doing whatever you can to make it fun and make it a culture of security is going to be helpful. And the sooner you start that, the better.
Yep.
I think something else you can do to help engage your user base is to kind of bring security kind of more home and focus on like what your organization's needs look like, your systems, and like what are your specific like security threats that you have to deal with, and kind of like help them realize like, hey, these are our systems. These are the threats that we're being attacked with, and help them like bring it home to them, instead of just some generic training where it's just, oh, hey, a phishing email, blah, 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 whatever, which, those are great. But I think if you can also add to that it helps them realize that, hey, this is real life stuff that could happen to our organization very easily, and helping them like realize a little bit more about your infrastructure and stuff like that can really help.
The go-to example, especially because it's recent, was Uber.
Yeah.
The person got complete control of that through means it was a contractor.
Yep.
And he built himself a Slack account, and he went into the corporate Slack saying, I have control of your systems. And it was treated as a joke.
Yeah.
Like all of them were laughing, having a great time about this guy that had a major and significant breach of the company. And I can't believe that Uber's been lax on security training. So, I mean, there's a certain point where, you can only do so much, and that is the hardest part to accept about security is if you can say, I've done all of these steps to make sure that they have the tools to know better. And the end result, it takes one person that still doesn't know better, and it all unravels.
It does. I think the thing I would like to say is the users are on your team. They may annoy you, but they're on your team. Let them know that.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I think we've confirmed what I thought. I'm awesome at the hard skills.
You are.
Terrible at the soft skills.
No.
But not now.
Now
Thanks
you
to Tara's coaching. For PDQ, I'm Jordan.
I'm Tara.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. If you like what you've seen, do us a favor, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave us your comments. We love those. And please join our PDQ community Discord and talk with real people. It's awesome. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.